There's Elizabeth's July, August, September bill.
Okay.
Hey, Brian.
Hello.
Here you go.
Well, they have theirs down there.
Oh, okay.
Money. You get it?
I keep thinking I need to call Gary Bush, and I have not done that. And I know he's doing it.
I don't. I need to text him or something. He's a good man. We talk to her about 2 times a day. So this is June, July, August, September? Yeah, I'll read it.
Yeah, that's it. I don't think it's bad.
No. Oh, we're cold.
Oh, we are.
Oh, we are.
Stoddard, will you unplug that humidifier for me?
Liz, did you turn the camera on? It's on, yeah. Okay.
Pierce is leaving PTSD, and I don't know where he's going. Pierce, Eric Pierce.
Yeah.
He's leaving. I'm still working on it. Have you heard from her?
Ariel? No. Nope.
I'm gonna use that for roll call.
I don't know if I handed this out or not, so there's that also.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
And him for doing it.
Yeah, this is what I tried to write it down Monday.
I'm just not good at
Oh, this is
learning things on your computer.
That's it, too. Yeah.
We'll get your name right eventually.
Ms. Murphy, the whole room can hear you. Can you hear us?
Just about the time you leave.
Yes. Hello? Can you hear us?
Yes, I got you now.
Okay. I'll call this meeting to order. Ms. Ross, roll call, please.
Okay, Adam Waller,
Yes, ma'am.
Andy Lawson.
Here.
Stephen Bartell,
Here.
Gary Hendricks.
Here.
And Monty Ross. Okay.
Public comments?
You bring an agenda?
Yeah, somewhere.
Yeah, over there.
Mr. Byers, any comments?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to inform you that, I didn't know if you got my pictures or not. There's still a problem with the trash. I sat up there and I watched, I spent maybe 5 minutes pulled over there, just kind of monitoring several trucks that were coming out. And one, as I was waiting on the trucks to come out to see muddy, get pictures of the muddy tires, the, truck going in lost big pieces of trash right in the middle of the road. And then as 2 different trucks come out, as soon as they get up a little bit of speed, probably around that quarter mile mark, they blowing plastic trash. One was plastic and one was some little white pellets that maybe look like packing or something, I'm not sure. They were just blowing out everywhere. And so I did see that, and I sent some pictures of that over to you all to review. Also, I know the mud has been extremely bad here the last few weeks since we started getting rain. So I'm just curious what's changing for the good, and when is it gonna take place, and accountability, how that's coming along of holding them accountable for that.
Let me ask you a question. When you were, the trash blown out of the truck, did you see the company that the truck belonged to?
I did not, by the time he got to where I was sitting,
Uh-huh.
gone.
Oh.
I mean, he's barreling it on. I mean, as soon as he pulls out, they go.
And the top wasn't closed, right?
No, there was no tops on them trucks. They was not covered, no. They had the roll bins, the big bins on the back, so they had bins on. And the truck that went in was like a flatbed truck with a trailer on it, on the back, like a dump trailer. And that's where some bigger pieces of trash came out of that. And they were just laying there in the road. So whenever I went back out to do an estimate for one of my job sites, and I come back, it was still there. So that's when I took, more pictures.
I want to, David, there used to be signage out front. I thought there used to be. I used to go in there years ago, but is there still signage there that clearly states
Cover.
Tarps.
covers, everything's gonna be tarped? And
So how do we enforce that?
We'll speak to Teresa in the morning, get that, make sure that's being enforced.
I mean, can we hand out flyers as they come in just for a little short time, maybe for a month?
It
Maybe
is
hit all of them.
It is a traffic violation. I mean, the sheriff's department should be, ticketing these folks for doing that.
It is. I mean,
If they're leaving not covered, or if they're discharging trash?
discharging.
Well,
It's
littering,
littering, yeah.
but
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's littering, yes, but I
Yeah.
mean, is it a ticketing offense if they aren't covered?
Oh, if they have, I think he's describing something that's more residential, kind of
Right,
a tow
yeah,
behind.
that's
Yeah,
what I was
one
gonna
was
ask.
residential and two was.
Yeah.
But a large container truck, it is required. I mean, your tractor trailers, even your container should be covered. I mean, it is a law. I mean, they have to be covered.
I know what Brian's talking about. I was down there just a few weeks ago, and I was actually from your place down, it looked better where, what's her name was here recently.
Lisa.
Yeah, she's been cleaning up down there, or I wouldn't be cleaning up around those curves, but
So
walking out
they
there,
have,
I'll get a
that
handout,
stretch up above.
I'll get a handout though.
Okay.
they have signs, that say $3,000 fine for littering, and so I think the county does that, do they not?
The
I'll
county does.
try we've talked to all of them. We've talked to
Oh.
the city, we've talked to the county, but I'll
Okay.
try the sheriff again.
We discussed this previously.
Yeah.
Residential garbage trucks have a sliding door on the top, so that you prevent that vortex from coming and blowing stuff out.
Well, you have pickup trucks in there with
Yeah.
full little trailers and all that too. That's probably, I don't know what percentage that is, but there's probably quite a few of those too.
Make sure that they did that before they left the site.
Yeah, you're right. That's what I'm saying. That's a flyer, just some way just to remind them that this is gonna be an issue.
Mr. Anklin, anything?
No, that was enough.
Okay, thank you for public comments. Let's approve the October minutes that Ms. Ross prepared. I need a motion to approve those minutes.
I move to accept the minutes.
Thank you, Doc. Is there a second?
I'll say.
Thank you, Gary. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This afternoon, I got an invoice from Ms. Murphy for legal from June through September for $18,800. So here is the breakdown of litigation and non-litigation for everyone to see. We'll come back to that after y'all look at it. Update on the 24-25 audits. I received drafts copies Thursday, so those still need to be gone through before I bring them here to vote. So the plan is to vote on the 24 and the 25 audit in December. And then we also need to probably pick a new auditor to use for 2020. Well, I guess it's 23-24 and 24-25. Wait, 22, 23, 24, 25 is what we're approving. So, well, we just need a new one to cover the 24-25 is what we need. The two previous years we'll vote on in December. So
So do we have some suggestions?
there's a whole list I'll get from the state.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
the state has approved auditors. Dave, do you want to talk about the fee discrepancy? I know you gave us a packet. Will you just give us a 30-second rundown of that real
Cliff
quick?
Notes update, fees were paid correctly. That's the worksheet that you see there on the front with the check matching. The problem was the letter was done incorrectly. But as you can see, the fee worksheet and the checks match. So those were, the checks were done correctly. The letters were incorrect. I've provided a correct letter for this month with the check, so it was delivered today. So you see that everything's back in line.
Are there updated letters from those 2 months?
I can get those.
That'd be great for me just to give to the finance department so I have something that shows that. Ms. Murphy, would you like to talk about the Tennessee National Buffer easement real quick?
If I understand correctly, there was previously an approval by the board for a 50-foot landscape buffer that has already been done. Did I get that right?
There's the 50-foot permanent easement for them to build the buffer on solid waste property, yes.
Yeah, so that's already been done. So then going through the paperwork, there was no provision for ingress and egress to get around, onto and around the back of the buffer, equipment, trucks and all that stuff were. So that has been added, otherwise it would become a conflict with whoever's operating the site. You've got a lack of clarity about who can go where and do what when. So if Tennessee National doesn't have a defined buffer behind the landscape buffer, so they can start in, start out, stack materials, cut down trees, whatever they have to do, planting, all that, we heard them indicate that was not gonna work great. So it's just kind of a small oversight, but fixable. So that paperwork is being changed and amended. I think do you have a map that shows?
Yeah, we had that from a couple meetings ago. So we currently have the 50-foot berm easement, and they're needing a 50-foot ingress and egress. So Ms. Murphy and their attorney's working on that, and we'll deal with that in December. I just want to get everybody getting an update.
Yeah, so the paperwork will follow the vote. If you all vote, like, yes, they can have it, then we'll get the paperwork finalized.
Oh, so you want us to vote on that they can have the ingress egress? 50-foot?
We can do it that way, and then we can vote on the final approval, we can vote to finally approve the documentation and the paperwork.
Okay.
If it meets with everybody in December.
Okay, perfect. So is there a motion to approve the additional 50-foot for ingress and egress for Tennessee National?
So moved.
Ms. Ross, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Doc. Is there, all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say nay. Thank you. I'm gonna call a gentleman, named Todd. He is with Waste Away, which is a presentation that took place at a conference, the state put on a week or two ago. He's gonna give us a real quick 5-minute summary of the technology they have, just so we know it. So, hold on one second here, Ms. Murphy, I'm gonna add Mr. Smith?
That's the same presentation that was in the packet.
Yes, sir.
Smith? You
Yes.
said-
Todd Smith.
Hello, Adam.
Hold on, I'm gonna merge you in here if I can figure out how.
Okay, thank you, Adam.
It's not just Adam. It's, you have the Solid Waste Commission and there's 4 people in the audience, so you have 5 minutes to tell us about what Waste Away does, and I want Todd to describe
Sure.
what he does tonight. Then if we're interested, have him come back in January possibly, and we can ask more questions and he can do a more thorough presentation. So, go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, so it's Todd Smith. I'm with Waste Away, and we're a company that started about 23 years ago, a green tech innovator that has invented a way to transform municipal solid waste, so household trash, into clean, green, sustainable, renewable biofuels. And our process, and this is what's so appealing to solid waste commissions and municipalities and cities across the world, is that we can divert 85% of a city's trash into clean, renewable, sustainable biofuels. And it's a revenue generator for city municipalities and for our green tech leaders. So we started about 23 years ago over in Morrison, Tennessee, which is on the Cumberland Plateau between Murfreesboro and McMinnville. And we've expanded into the Nashville area in Brentwood. We are in talks to develop a plant in Murfreesboro as an answer and solution to the Middle Point landfill. We're working with the Rutherford County, with the city leaders in Murfreesboro, the Rutherford County leaders to build that 400 ton per day plant. Like I said, that will divert 85% of the city's trash into biofuels. The process works like this. We're single stream. We encourage recycling. It's a big part of what we do. However, we realize that the best way to address municipal solid waste is to do single stream. We have recycling at our centers on the front end. We take out all the recyclables, the plastics, the metals, the glass, the inerts. And then after that, as you all know, what's left over from household waste is primarily plant-based material. So we've invented one of our 27 patents on green technology is a hydrolyzer that we call a cellulator. The leftover solid mass goes into those continuous flow into these chambers. And in those chambers, at the cellular level, we crank the heat up to about 365 degrees and a PSI of about 120 to 140. In that chamber, at the cellular level, there's an explosion that happens that about 30 minutes into our recycling process produces what we call cellulate. And cellulate is a fluffy material that looks a lot like mulch when it comes out of the cellulator. Very much has the consistency of that blown-in insulation that you see in attics and stuff. So that's kind of what comes out. At that point, 30 minutes into our renewable sustainable process, it's rated by the EPA as it's no longer trash, it's a clean biofuel, coal and fossil fuel replacement. So our solid biofuel is sold to industries that use coal, that burn coal. So the steel mills, the cement kilns, the paper mills, the power plants of the world, we have contracts with those entities to deliver a clean negative carbon footprint biofuel. The game changer for us happened several years ago when we introduced AD, anaerobic digestion, into our process. And the anaerobic digestion chambers take that solid mass, that solid fuel, and produce massive amounts of renewable natural gas. It takes about 20 to 30 days to produce the natural gas, as opposed to about 10 to 20 years to try to get landfill gases. So we have a process that works, that's proven. We're building plants in Murfreesboro in Kern County, California, and about a dozen places all around the world, from Canada, Vancouver Island to Hawaii to New Zealand. So we've got a technology, a green tech that works, and it's great for cities because it comes up with a sustainable landfill diversion solution, and it's a revenue generator that provides these great biofuels. So that's kind of a quick overview of Waste Away. We've been around for a little over 23 years. We started out in Morrison as a kind of pioneering municipal solid waste into a soil additives. We still do that for the nursery industry, as you all may know. In that area of Middle Tennessee is kind of the greenhouse and horticulture capital of the Southeast. So that's how we were born, and our chemical engineers through the years, over the last couple of decades, discovered this process. So that's what Waste Away is for a green tech waste to fuel innovator.
Thank you very much, sir. I'll let you go enjoy your evening. Oh, one question. I said no question. You can ask one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Please, please.
So I was wondering, okay, about when you say recyclables, what about glass? What do you do with glass? Do you take that out? Or?
Yeah, so we take that out, and as you all may know, out of all the recycled materials, glass is the hardest place to find a home for.
Yes.
And so we do try to find homes for it. It also in our chemical engineers tell us this all the time. glass is made from sand, and so, 15% of the municipal solid waste that is diverted from landfills, some of that will be glass, some of that will be sand, and if that goes back into the landfill, it's a sand-based material.
Monty has a love for glass. I don't know why, but she just loves glass.
Well, it's a great, as you all know, it's used in building materials and asphalt and cement, and it's a strong reinforcement for those kinds of building materials.
Blount County has completely replaced their aggregate, material with glass chips
For
Yeah,
road, for
it
road
works.
for
construction.
road construction and, around culverts and stuff like that. So anyway, wherever they need
Doctor-
aggregate.
Sure.
Dr. Bartell has a question now too, I'm afraid. Go ahead, Doc.
Yeah, very much enjoyed the presentation, at least the slides presented in the packet, but a question on the biofuels and the natural gas. Has your company done an energy return on energy investment analysis?
Yes, we have, and that's, that's something that I can get from our engineers as we have further discussions, and I'm happy to share that in kind of our pro forma, information that we have with cities.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Have a great Thanksgiving and I'll be in touch.
All right, Adam, thanks so much, and it was good, I appreciate you, the invite, and look forward to, pulling the curtains back even further.
Awesome, thanks Todd.
All right, talk to you soon.
Yes, sir, bye-bye. Okay, one thing we forgot to do was vote on the meeting dates, which we discussed in, October. So during the packet, I just need a motion to approve those meeting dates.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Vulture update, there's not really one. There's not a ton of vulture activity right now per our USDA guys, so we're not being charged. They're not having to do a lot of vulture capturing. He anticipates when the spring comes around, they'll be a lot more active, and but he's gonna keep in the loop of what's going on. So Stoddard, real quick, we have the semi-annual groundwater monitoring report. Do you have anything?
Well, we are starting our sampling, the first week in December, to knock out the second semi-annual. The first semi-annual, really the only change is it kind of replicates what was done a year ago, but we added in the Southwest Spring.
Purdy Spring? Is that what we call Purdy Spring?
The
Okay.
Purdy Springs property. We're calling it we have two springs, Southwest, Southeast, just almost easier to notate them that way.
Okay.
And so we did have some impacts that we are gonna do quarterly monitoring on. This is a TDEC requirement. So we're gonna provide supplemental data on a quarterly basis to TDEC and Molly and Company 4. 1,2-dichlorobenzene, and your typical kind of natural reoccurring, your arsenics, your zincs, your cobalts.
So Purdy Springs will all be monitored quarterly.
It will be monitored
Okay.
quarterly.
Any questions from up here?
Do you know where these things are coming from?
We have one sampling event. We did collect 2 samples during that one event. We've tried to do some kind of calculation to determine the origin of it. With just one event, we don't really have as much data to lean on, but that is the goal. Is we would like to figure it out.
I have some questions, but again, they don't pertain too much to the detailed results of the sampling that you just summarized during the last meeting, but it's some more strategic, and maybe this is not the right venue, and let me know.
This is the only venue, so please ask.
And it just, again, because I'm relatively new to the program, and was particularly interested in Figure 1, which shows the location of the sampling wells in relationship to the structure of the landfill. And what caught my attention was the designation of the groundwater flow direction. I'm not sure exactly how that was determined. Has there been, any substantial groundwater modeling associated? And maybe I'm sure this goes back in the history of the site, which is why I'm sort of, reluctant to ask questions. But just for my own edification, I mean, I can't help but notice that the locations of MW1, 1A, and 2 seem not to be in the direction of the flow. at least as it's indicated on this diagram. And the distance between MW2 and MW3 is quite substantial, and it looks like the direction of flow, at least indicated on this chart, is kind of between them. So I guess my question is, given the nature of the sample location and the number of sampling wells, I'm not sure that I see that, it would provide a really rigorous characterization of the overall potential movement of contaminants off the site. So when I look at the results of the groundwater modeling, I'm a little bit confused as to exactly what I'm looking at. And I understand the implications in terms of budget and legal requirements and all that, which you're, seem to be meeting. But when I look at it more from the perspective of if I was designing a research program, for example, to characterize the potential movement of contaminants off-site, it wouldn't look like this.
Sure.
Anyway, those are my initial concerns from the.
Well, I mean, groundwater flow is gonna follow topographic gradient for the most part. There are some general discrepancies, whether you have some sort of pressure from an underlying aquifer or not, that may change that, but routinely, this is pretty representative of topography of the site. You do have point of compliances, up gradient, down gradient, and so those two factors, at least from a TDEC perspective, are covered, just something that does, catch a baseline prior to it intersecting with what is the landfill property and then what does leave landfill property. Is there a way to incorporate more data and for capture? Absolutely, there's always gonna be data gaps in how we handle this, and obviously we wanna change that. We did make some vendor changes this next cycle, so CEC will not be conducting our reporting moving forward. They will also not be sampling our wells. Not necessarily because they do poor work, just more or less, let's get a different set of eyes on it. Let's have a different set of experts come in and weigh in on some of the findings that they've had historically and what we can have for this next event and subsequent events.
Sure. And the other question was, clearly the chemistry, particularly for the trace metals, is highly influenced by suspended particulates and pH and conductivity, all the sorts of things that influence that. So I'm a little bit curious as to how stable those conditions are. I mean, I noticed when you resample, high and low turbidity are pretty dramatic changes. And so I'm curious as to, temporal variability and the factors that would influence the concentrations of those, certainly the trace metals. I'm not quite so sure about some of the other things like the nitrates and stuff. So, do quarterly or semi-annual samples really characterize the temporal variability in those concentrations?
It should. One of the things is the health of a well is also very important. The filter pack that exists in the immediate vicinity of the well, and what gets, we have a lot of wells where they get purged dry, and so as you sample that, you're taking essentially what you get at that point, which tends to be somewhat turbid water. If you can, remove the well volumes and get something that removes the static conditions, and you get more of an influence of what's surrounding in the surrounding media, you get a better representation of the true chemistry of that location. Obviously, one of the things we have discovered switching vendors is they carry their own set of standards that they require. So we are doing some well redevelopment exercises. If the well casing or pad is damaged, we're replacing those, clearing it of sediment, those type of things, just to assist in our effort of just saying we want the screen interval specifically as representative data, not anything else that may be intruding beyond that, for either whether it's from the top or just poor filter cage, that type of thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Anything else?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Bertel or anyone else in the commission, would it help you to have more information, isolated, pulled out information about groundwater levels? Republic, Fantech has that kind of information there, obviously, they have it all. The level that you're sampling at, obviously, is pretty important. Is that something you've already found, or do you want some of that information?
I'm not quite sure I understood.
Would you like the public to provide information that shows the well depths, what the groundwater levels are and stuff? Would that help you?
Yes, I think that would.
Can you get that for him?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Murphy.
And can I ask you a question about scheduling of sampling times? I mean, I know, is it like a, whenever they can get to it, or is there a window, or, I mean, what after there's a good rain, can they get out and do some sampling then? I mean, how spontaneous, I guess, can you be?
Well, the idea of sampling is you would hope a rainstorm would not influence groundwater. At least directly. I mean, there may be some sort of, trickling effects that percolates into the groundwater that, you get some data for. But, a rain event, you'd want to capture that with stormwater, what is getting shedded from the site in the immediacy. But as far, we do have water quality monitoring plans that do show construction details of these wells. That's something that is included with our most recent permit to construct with modules 1, 2, and 3. Definitely get you that. I don't know if I answered your question directly. Oh, sampling schedule. We've always routinely done like a June, December event, which kind of grinds my gears, if I can just put it lightly. Obviously, December, this time of year, you conflict with the holidays, so if there is an issue with the lab, there's really no recourse for it. You almost have to deal with it or conduct a whole new event. And same thing, end of June, you get into that July vacation season, same sort of situation happens. We are looking to probably try to shift it almost in a kind of 2 to 3 month kind of counterclockwise rotation where we'd go maybe instead of June, April, May, October, November, just to try to get a little bit more, appropriate conditions when we do sample, just so there's not outside influence or laboratory logistics, things like that. So that is the driving force. But historically, it's always been June, December here for reasons that nobody has seemed to say is a regulatory requirement. It's just kind of how it's been done.
Any other questions? And who's go ahead, Ms. Murphy, sorry.
I'm just going to point out to the commission that Mr. Stoddard already mentioned one of the wells is now in quarterly sampling, which is another step down the road for potentially being out of compliance. So it's not a great thing, but as the commission's going along, the report from TDEC dated November 4th is a pretty good summary of what was found. And if there's more information you want or you have questions, you might want to prepare those for the next meeting in December and look at that. I don't know how much time everyone had since this kind of just came out, but it's not nothing. It's not a big alarm fire or anything, but it's not nothing. For that spring or that other monitoring, is it the
Spring.
Is it the Southwest Spring that's gone into quarterly?
That is correct. That is correct. Yes.
Southwest,
The Purdy Spring.
that we call Purdy Springs there to the left of the entrance, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so the Southwest, that's towards the river, of course, and very often the groundwater just kind of flows in various patterns towards a river body, larger river body, trying to get back to the bigger body. But that spring's the one that's gone into quarterly. So if you have questions, it might be a good idea to put those together for December. And then if you have anything further that you want from the public information-wise, that's a great time to get it. I think Mr. Klein is going to be a little challenged in digging through all the hydrological information to try to make sense of it, and then that's an additional cost to the board. The public can probably provide that given a little time. That's all.
Thank you, ma'am. Who's the new company doing the well testing and monitoring?
We have Weaver Consultants conducting the sampling, and
Who is
then
that?
Weaver Consultants.
Weaver Consultants.
And then you have Egan and Associates that is going to be doing the reporting. They've been involved recently with the assessment monitoring.
And where's Weaver based out of?
Weaver, the office in Nashville.
Okay.
Egan and Associates is out of Canton, Ohio.
Okay, thank you. Module C and D closure update.
We are taking test pits on the anchor trench to locate, make sure the designs are as they are permitted. We are seeing some elevation discrepancies from what we thought was in the design, which is kind of twofold. Is one, we need to confirm that just to make sure we don't impact any liner as we do conduct this project, but also at the same time, We are seeing that maybe some of the waste location that we're gonna or waste at the toe of the slope may not be as extreme as we may have thought. Just because it is showing a little bit elevation is higher than what we thought was in the permit. Whether that's a survey variance, a benchmark, it's yet to be determined. That's what we are doing actively right now is locating, designing the anchor trench specifically so we can get the tow drain installed, get the slopes all cleaned up for the winter, and that's the plan is to try to shut this project down as quickly as we can once we're fully winterized.
Perfect. And are you keeping Chris in the loop on that one?
Chris, yeah, we've made zero progress since our last conversation. We're just slowly digging test pits and getting the slope to grade.
Chris, any questions? Any questions from this board? How's our cell lane leachate fix going? Everything flowing good, everything done?
Yep,
So-
yep. They, both modules are holding leachate. They're able to pump themselves dry. A rainstorm does add a little bit of influence, so we are, supplementing we have an extra pump on site just to make sure we don't get overwhelmed. But no, we're just waiting on Lou to give us the green light.
Perfect. And I called Lou today about your last report you submitted. I guess it said about 600 pages, so it took a little time to review, but they hope to get that done soon so we can get those 2 new cells open. Leachate store tank, everything good there?
Everything's good. It's holding. It's controlled. It's
Recertified, all good to go?
Yep.
Perfect. How is the borrow pit testing going?
So we did some high-level kind of review of the data that was extracted last week. There was very few refusals encountered, really in the northwestern portion of the hill, kind of the northern, you can reflect on the borrow plans that were provided before. Everything was kind of south of that ephemeral stream. We had no impacts there. There was some moisture in the soils, but no obvious water signs. So it seems to be really viable soils, the whole property outside of some refusal near the northwest corner.
Perfect, good, that's what we want. Let's move on to the borrow pit rezone. So you need to have a rezone before the county planning commission and county commission for a A1 or A2 to a community facility district. And that will be for a rezone to create a private soil borrow area for the adjacent solid waste landfill. Correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Are you reading from the application?
Yeah.
Nathan? Okay, yeah.
And that's for those 2 parcels to the side of the current landfill. So I'd like a motion to approve the board to okay the rezone of those 2 parcels to a private soil borrow area for the adjacent solid waste landfill. And that still has to go before planning commission and county commission to be rezoned.
I have a question. What exactly are you asking the board to approve?
You're cutting out a little bit, Ms. Murphy. Can you adjust your cell phone?
Sorry.
No, I'm asking this board to vote to authorize Republic to file for the rezone of the borrow pit parcels for a private borrow pit solely for the landfill.
Got it, for the commission to request it.
Yes.
Got it, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Is there a motion to approve the rezone application?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Doc. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Okay. Please file your rezone application.
Sure.
Stormwater pond updates?
Yes, stormwater pond 1 is always typically dry. That's the one that exists kind of southwest of the closed landfill. Pond 2 is the one we've had some issues with, still plugged. We're backing out anything that hits the east ditch that would flow through conveyances to pond 2. We did sample it towards the end of October. Had a conversation with our ops team over there. They did sample during a rainstorm, and so we sent the lab turbid samples. So while everything from a chemistry perspective looks good, all of a sudden TSS spiked. So but that's really just solely on practice of where to sample. There was another sample recovered this week before the rains, so I'm hoping that'll be more indicative of kind of the true chemistry of it. But pH, ammonia levels, nitrogen levels, they're all well in compliance. COD, the chemical oxidation demand, is still up a little bit. That just is really just demonstrating that the water is operating under aerobic conditions. There's reactions still taking place. But with this closure project, one thing we are doing is constructing a 4-bay, mucking, cleaning out the pond, and a new riser structure will be installed. So while we're monitoring and remediating this, we do have a plan to completely fix it if it doesn't attenuate on its own.
And TDEC's involved, they send all the test results to TDEC, and I see all those emails. So let's talk about jurisdictional water, and that's why Chris is here. Chris, I don't want a decision tonight on this. I'd really like you and Stoddard and Dr. Bartel to go walk the property and see where things are and get just eyes on it. So if you three can find time to do that. Walk us through what the history of these jurisdictional waters.
Just as brief as I could possibly be, we'll start from the pond and work our way eastward. So the pond, January 22, was initially determined as a ephemeral stream. That report was, see here, who was that report by? That was a CEC report. However, in that report, it did note that the stormwater pond was upstream of that area. There are some varying definitions to what ephemeral means and all that. Basically, ephemeral would be year-round, or perennial. Sorry, they called that a perennial. Let me correct that. So that would, and there was some indication of fish life, not fish that you catch or anything like that. But that's part of the, what do they call those things? No, it's a aquatic life. Basically, it's those little bugs. At the end of the day,
It's not,
those spiders that stand on top of
it's
water.
non-gambusia.
Yeah, non-gambusia,
Yeah.
yeah, which I even had to look that
Really
up.
tiny.
Yeah. So those things pose problems everywhere we go, no matter what we're doing. So that was defined as a perennial stream, which means it is a year-round stream, and that was based on 7 days after a rain event, there was still water there. That would probably be standing water, if I had to guess. And then the second part of the stream was a report done by barge, where the feature, I'll call it a feature, crosses over the property for Tennessee National. That portion of the stream was determined to be intermittent stream, which is a seasonal stream that pops up in wet weather times and is dry during dry weather times. Not necessarily dependent on weather, but just different time, rainy season versus dry season. Summertime, let's say July, August is probably dry. February, January, March, sometime around there is probably wet. And then this most recent one is the one that goes completely across the adjacent property that the landfill owns, where the borrow areas are and stuff like that. And this, it was, I think, mostly determined to be ephemeral, which is rain dependent. I do not know professionally what the difference in ephemeral versus wet weather conveyance is. Ephemeral could potentially have the impact of where groundwater could be, is my understanding of that. So what the difference in a wet weather conveyance there is, there could be some discrepancies in that. The one thing to note is even in the HH&T report is those are all disjointed. So we change, and there's a section in between that is disjointed where there's nothing. So as I look at this, I'm looking at it in two ways. One, what kind of waterway is it, and is it jurisdictional, which is, so what kind of water is it? Is TDEC, and is it jurisdictional, is the Army Corps. If it is disjointed in, I believe it was, correct me, you probably know, was it 2024? When the Army Corps was not allowed to call, if it was disjointed, they were not allowed to call it jurisdictional.
That is my understanding.
Yeah.
If it's
So-
disconnected,
It's
it's
recently
it-
changed,
yeah.
I know.
Right,
yeah,
and that
code,
was the change, was basically if it is
Okay.
disjointed from what they have as jurisdictional, then it is not jurisdictional. What
The
type
part
of-
upstream from the disjointment is no longer.
Correct.
jurisdiction.
Yeah, so my initial thought to this is, one, how do we have disjointed creeks? How are all these different sections downstream of a perennial stream, non-perennial? I think that could be an argument. The other thing to note is the time frame. So 2022 to 2025 is a decent time frame, and things have changed on site, things have changed around the area. TDEC does go back to these. I think that it would take going all the way back through the whole stream to note what those are. To understand what is it 4 years later, 3 years later. And in my opinion, and in the opinion of CEC in 2022, there was a note of a stormwater pond upstream of where they were calling this a perennial stream.
Is that the one that was like 152 feet or something like that?
Yeah.
It's that little
Yeah,
blue one
it's
here.
the
not very
little
long.
piece.
It's small.
And I think
No
that's
bass
even,
in
that's
there.
even moved a little bit now that we've moved the pond a little to the east. So part of that is gone. The other side of this is thinking about, I'm not disagreeing with what y'all are saying on that portion of the stream. But I think we do need to determine what that perennial stream is, because if that maintains a perennial stream, now we've got to do something with how that perennial stream is allowed to discharge, and that would be a TDEC jurisdictional ARAPS. How do you mitigate the stream? How do you move the stream? And a lot of that would be dependent on what does the future landscape of the landfill expansion look like.
Thank you for that summary. Does Stoddard have anything else to add to that?
No, that was, I appreciate the opinion on that, because it is, the information we submitted was specific to the borrow area, which is that ephemeral stream that runs through. And so essentially what we'd be doing if that non-jurisdictional determination is made, and we do have the HD information, the hydrologic determination that shows there is not groundwater intrusion in that, further substantiated by the test pits we just did, which I have not given you the data for yet, just got that information yesterday.
You're fine.
That would essentially disconnect almost all streams from the subject site that were previously deemed to be jurisdictional. And so once we feel like we're in a place where we can have that information finalized on the borrow area, we would like to replicate the same study on the subject site. To one, yes, we have the potential assurances that it is a disconnected feature, but our stormwater ponds are not spring fed. They're really just surface water capture points, and based on that, it does kind of determine that most of these features, if nothing else, they are wet weather conveyances, which I think goes back to us meeting on site. TDEC's rule to determine wet weather conveyances is between basically mid-February and mid-April is essentially what they choose to say, hey, you can prove it's a wet weather conveyance during that time, we're in agreement, is essentially what the ruling is. So if we can meet at that time and confirm this on site, that'd be.
Why don't you three find a time to meet and do that, and then we'll go from there. Does that work?
Absolutely. We'll do it.
Chair Waller,
Please.
I want to clarify some language here. Is the request coming from Republic about, is it your position that there are not streams out there? Or are you saying, well, there are streams, but they're not jurisdictional, as in covered by the Clean Water Act and federal? Like streams as in the state definitions or the federal? Because it's kind of, we're using a lot of different words here, and I think in the state regulations, if it's not a wet weather conveyance, it's a stream. Am I right about that?
As my understanding, yes, it is essentially if it's not a wet weather conveyance and it has a if it flows water, then there's some sort of jurisdictional feature that allows it to flow to the Tennessee River. It is a source of water to a river that would affect downwater or gradient drinking water is kind of the overarching approach there.
So what I want the commission to understand is that this is a really confusing and tricky area of law, but you can have a stream that travels for a distance, and because it goes underground, the state may treat it like a stream, but the state may not have an opinion or make any decision as to whether it's, quote, jurisdictional and reaches navigable waters. That language moves the whole discussion up to, is this covered under the Clean Water Act? And that is a huge area of debate. But the state's primary concern is, if you have a stream in the way of something and you want to move that stream, they want you to get a permit for that, for the removal of the stream, the burying, get mitigation credit somewhere else, whatever that involves. If it's a wet weather conveyance, they don't require a permit for that. So that's why the wording here kind of matters. You can have a stream that you have to get a permit for to move, but you may never have to have a determination about whether it's quote, jurisdictional, navigable or not. It's kind of a side issue. So what they're really talking about is what streams need a permit and how many feet, because you have to have the main rule in the state regs is a no net loss. So if you're gonna take out 150 feet of stream, you have to figure out a way to compensate for that. And so now you're in the permitting world. So that's what kind of we're talking about here. When we're all using terms like perennial and ephemeral, the state, I don't think it's quite that in the weeds. That's more the feds. The state says if it's not a wet weather conveyance, it's a stream, you need a permit. I'm pretty sure about that, but I could be standing corrected. But when you go out and do your investigation, that's pretty much the determination you're trying to make.
Does that sound right, Stoddard?
I agree.
Okay.
And I think that's where it's.
So it's important for permitting, but the rules are slightly different as far as what the Army Corps might want and what the state might want. So Republicans trying to nail down what they have to ask for in permitting, which of course applies very much to the commission as well. You don't want to cover something over and not get a permit for something that was a stream. You don't want to do that.
Well, isn't it that the state is, I mean, there are federal requirements, but if the state is more strict, we need to go with the decision of the state.
Well, the state is going to issue those permits
Right.
as carrying out this whole permitting program that comes from the feds. And so you have to make TDEC happy with this, and they have written their rules about it, and that's what you have to follow. So, I mean, I haven't had to deal with one of these issues in a while, and I'm glad that Mr. Klein kind of put together that little report, because it can be very much a matter of opinion. And developers over the years have tried to change the law because they prefer not to get a permit for a stream if they can avoid it. And so you want to check and make sure it's not just a place where the stormwater runs off. If it's got various characteristics and it's a stream, you get the permit. So that's kind of what the thing's about.
Thank you. You three, have fun. Report back in December on the 18th. Any other questions? Comments? One thing we got this afternoon, we got from TDEC was the inspection from yesterday at 1 o'clock. Everything was good except for one AOC. Stoddard, you want to discuss that real quick?
Kind of two parts. We removed a scale on that new interior slope above module 1 and 2.
How much did that thing weigh?
It was very large. I mean, it was about 40 feet long by about,
Holy cow.
yeah, it was pretty substantial.
Wow.
And so, yeah, getting that out is obviously, that's been in the waste pile for who knows how long at this point. It's probably a couple decades at this level. But when we pulled it out, obviously, we're leaving a void space there, so we have to still address it. And one of the kind of product of timing, we're installing a French drain, trying to true up the slope to encourage down gradient flow. and regulator shows up and there's leachate coming out of this area, which again is flowing into our new cell. So it's all on liner, there's no human health issue here, it's just, we don't have waste, so it's visible. The other side of that is on the east slope, the east ditch, it is plugged, but until it is fixed correctly and it operates as intended in the permit, it is gonna continue to be an AOC until it's mitigated. So goal, hopefully by next month, we'll be able to cross that one off the list.
Where was the leachate coming from?
It was just above the module 1, module 2 tie-in on the west side where the scale was pulled out.
Dude,
And
this
then-
thing was a giant. I mean, Chris and I saw it, right? Were you? I was out there. Who was I out there
I've
with?
seen that one.
You saw the corner of it,
Yeah, we
right?
saw
Just
the
like-
corner of it.
Yeah.
Was Chris with us? Somebody was with. Maybe it was just me. This was a giant.
I think Lou was with us.
Was it Lou? Okay, maybe it was
It was
Lou.
during the
This was
ATR,
a
yeah.
giant piece of like the top of a scale. And this, he says 40 feet long, just a massive piece.
Where'd they get it there?
I think it was an old scale. They just said, what do we do with it? Let's throw it in the hill. You know,
Oh,
that's-
okay. So before it was landfill, even.
No, it
No,
was,
it's
yeah.
in the landfill.
It's
Like it
in
was
the
an old scale. They put in the new scale and just took the old one and
Oh.
threw it in the landfill. Man, that thing had to weigh tons. It's that thick.
Yeah, we gave the contractor a full run just to pull it out, just do something with it. You can scrap it, whatever. And apparently, I think that's what they ended up doing is they were able to get, something for the metal or something. I don't know.
So Dave, will you make sure this November packet's in your December stuff?
That
Or this
November-
this November inspection
It's in your packets right now.
was not the one that I had to update though, because I
No.
didn't have it in time, but just make sure it's included so I can put it online, if you would.
I'll include it in the December packet.
As well, perfect, thank you.
You all have it now, though. I went
It's
and
up
got
here,
it.
correct,
Yes.
but we got it today, this after lunch, so I didn't have time
Yeah,
for the packet.
no, I'll include it in the December package that I emailed to you.
Perfect. You have your, let me just check here. Let's go to Republic. Will you give us an update that's not in the packet, the update for the paving project? What that's gonna look like, just to repeat it, and when you expect that to start?
So catch basins showed up today. They're about, catch basins and grates together, about 50,000 pounds. It's a pretty robust infrastructure. We are installing 3 of them as an idea of trapping as much sediment as possible. Essentially, we're paving 1,000 linear feet. The idea on 1,000 linear feet is one, it gets us past the wheel wash, but it also is somewhat kind of representative of the area we street sweep out on the road. We street sweep a quarter mile, 1,000 linear feet, well, not a quarter mile, more 20% of a mile, but relatively close. The idea is we'd start on a Friday afternoon, evening time when traffic slows down. We work through the weekend, at least from the area, of what we would need to tear up as far as the road goes to try to limit traffic as much as possible. So we would need to dig that first weekend, install the catch basins, install the grates, and then have everything set up so when the pavers come in, they can just tie right into it. We are doing 1 lane at a time. We're gonna leave the inbound lanes settled, because obviously we don't need to install the catch basins on the inbound lanes. So we're gonna construct the outbound lanes first, we'll shift to the inbound lanes next. We are gonna have flaggers on site, navigating traffic. One thing we don't wanna do is tie traffic up on 72. We do have space on the hill to kind of keep trucks staged while we let people come off the scales, we can send others out. And so that is the plan. Is it expected to take up to 10 days? That is assuming weather does affect us for a couple days. But I know talking to the contractor today, we've been trying to make a hard push to start the weekend right after Thanksgiving. I think the better opportunity is to try to underpromise on that timeline and overdeliver. I think coming after Thanksgiving, you're gonna see a lot of increase in MSW waste that people might wanna try to get rid of during the weekend, or even early the following week. So allow that time to clear that space, and let's start the first weekend. I think it's Friday the 5th is the date. I think that is our target start date. And again, we're up to 10 days.
And so start the 5th ideally, probably, and then be done the 14th, so when you open up the 15th, they'll be 100% done.
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you very much. It's
Right.
exciting. Take pictures along the way.
Brian, there's your, I think that addresses your concern about a plan, right?
Well, as long as they're not dumping in the mud, there's not gonna be a problem. That's the way I see it. I really pray this works. I think there should be something different happen, but that's my opinion. I'm not an engineer. But common sense says if you dump in the mud, you're gonna have mud.
Well, we've had this discussion before, they're having to dump in sliver fills because they have no additional space. So Stoddard, as soon as that additional report is reviewed and approved by TDEC, how long will it take you from approval from TDEC to start dumping the new cell? We'll get a pad built and dump the new cells.
If I can get 30 seconds, we'll start. As soon as we get certification, we'd like to fluff in the cell. Teresa's already got ways she's identified as a means to fluff the cell. So she's, as soon as we're getting close to feeling that we're gonna have it, she's gonna have that stuff stage ready to go. We have a beautiful road on the backside of the hill now that kind of wraps into kind of the northern portion. So if you go to the site, you'll definitely see that. One thing Teresa has started using is we grinded the mulch pile on the
The
backside
entire thing?
as much as we could get
Yeah.
safely.
Yeah.
And she's been using that up on the top deck, which has done a pretty decent service to keeping what dirt we do have up there, or at least underneath the mulch. Obviously, it's a problem that I don't think we're gonna find a solution with 1 or 2 steps. It's gonna require kind of a process and then making an adjustment as we go. It's gonna happen in phases, and goal is to start limiting it as much as possible, and this is what we feel like is the best approach for what we can do this year.
And then what will it look like in terms of when cell 1 and 2 are starting to be dumped into? What kind of pad will you build up top to dump off of?
It's already constructed on the backside. So if you kind of go on north of the pond we have, kind of west there is a tipping pad. It's all completely, built-in road at this point. There's rock crusher run, everything's covered out there. So there should be no, on dirt interaction while they are tipping into the new cell.
And then once they tip all the way back to this newly paved road, there'll be no running through the mud either, correct?
There'll be some dirt interaction just, on the backside of the hill, but a lot of that, that is not a contributing factor. That is very strong, solid ground. It doesn't shed much even during rainstorms. It's the looser cover material that the trucks get when they're on the top deck is really what's causing the issue, and then coming off that slope.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from up here? What's the cool thing Republic's doing next week to help the community there, David? I saw an email about this.
With the change of areas last January, having a new area president, he's a much more philanthropic, charitable thinking type gentleman, which I appreciate. We've put together a program next Monday where we're with Mr. Harris, Mayor Harris in Loudon at 11 o'clock on Monday for turkey distribution in the city of Loudon. We're gonna try and do about 75 to 100 turkeys in Loudon, and then we're moving over to the Housing Authority in Lenore City at 1 o'clock, and we're working with Mayor Akins in Lenore City, and we're gonna distribute another 100 turkeys at the Housing Authority at 1 o'clock on Monday. Just trying to help our presence and help with the community and some charitable donations in the community with regard to Thanksgiving, and trying to make it a better time for everybody that needs some help.
Thank you very much. It's a great service to the community.
Thank you.
Y'all can look at your packet, which there's hard copies here and also in our packet if you have any questions. Everything in the engineering report's already been discussed. So if there's any other questions regarding tonnage, financials, speak now, forever hold your peace. Any other questions from this commission? Ms. Murphy, anything?
No, sir, I think I'm good.
Mr. Klein? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Oh, did you wanna do the fees?
Oh, yes, we need to vote so Ms. Murphy can be paid. So she'll
Sorry,
show up.
I'm delayed getting them all in.
No, I got it. Sorry, $18,800 to cover June, July, August, September of 2025. I'll send this out to everybody, but I just need a motion to keep Ms. Murphy's lights on.
I'll make a motion to pay Miss Murphy.
Thank you,
I'll
Andy.
second.
Thank you, Doc. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, Ms. Murphy, you'll get a check. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll
Everybody,
second.
thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Everybody have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you, Ms. Murphy. Have a good evening.
Thank you, bye.
You mind me asking, what was your latest? What was your idea? Me personally, yeah, just not dumping in the, I think it would. Personally, I suggested,
I don't know if it's been started yet.
so I mean, if we're gonna be on 10, 20 years, you know, we need a landfill.
Right.
I'm all for it, I'm not against it, I'm just against the mess that we.
Right.
go
I do
through.
not
It was
know.
supposed to be
So,
60
I just wanna
days.
see.
I think it's 60 days to serve, is my
Right.
understanding. 60 days to serve is my understanding.
You know, running
So-
the mud that's coming from the population, you know, it tracks out.
Well, that's good,
It's on- carried out to
because
the road, and
they're
it's-
negotiating, you know, and trying to
Fishermen.
resolve it before it gets to that point.
That's what's going on
I think
right
that's
At the end of the day,
All right.
Hence
the 1,000
feet of pavement inside, you know?
You got it.
Amazing.
It's great.